Thomas Troward talked about the starting point. I love that man's work. I truly love it. Now, the starting point is such a magnificent concept. It's something that you can read over and over and over again. He says it's an old saying that order is heaven's first law. And like many other old sayings, it contains a much deeper philosophy that appears immediately on the surface. Order is heaven's first law. Calm. Everything positive you can think of. You could speak in superlatives all day long and you'd still fall short. You're talking about something beyond the scope of our vocabulary. All of our words in our vocabulary are third dimensional words. And when you get into talking about God, Spirit, Infinite, you don't have a word in your vocabulary to describe that. You've gone beyond the third dimension. So we're talking about something that's so good, you can't even describe it. That's a heavenly state. Now he says, getting things into a better order is the great secret of progress. It's the great secret of progress. If you want to make progress, make order essential in your life. Got to have order. We're now able to fly through the air, not because the laws of nature have been altered, but because we have learned to arrange things in the right order to produce this result. If all things are possible, we've always been able to fly. It was because we learned to arrange things in the right order to produce that result. Well, if you want to get a result you haven't got, if you want a result beyond where you're at, you got to get things into a better order. Things themselves had existed from the beginning of the world. What was wanting was the introduction of the personal factor. You'll hear people say, God will do it. God will not do it. You got to do it. God works to and through you, but you've got to do it. It doesn't matter what's happened in the past. You and I are creative beings. We can go with our mind and we can take ourselves there and we say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to bring this into form. I can see it. I can see it. If I can hold it in my head, I can hold it in my hand. Get serious, for goodness sake. You're the most powerful creature on the planet.
Hi folks, very, very good morning. Happy Saturday. I hope we're all rested and you're going to take this weekend to recover, rejuvenate and just really reflect on this week. Now, Saturdays I always feel slightly sleepy because it's been such an action-packed week. Every evening this week, even last night, had wonderful conversations on the Zoom call after our 7 to 8 o'clock session, and it was just wonderful. And again, this morning, we continue just to give you as much as you need to take that first step moving forward. And the whole title and premise of this morning's call is that it all starts with you. So all this information we've got this week, clarity on your goals, understanding what's holding you back, looking at fear, looking at developing faith, now understanding the decisions you need to make to move forward. It all starts with you now. It all starts with you. So give me a little wave if you're here, if you're watching back in replay. Let me know that you're engaged. Let me know that you're serious. Let me know you're committed. And today, what we're going to do this morning is give you an overview of everything that we do within our academy. I'm going to give you a real understanding, an overview of what people experience, what me and Nikki continue to experience, and what you will experience when you decide to come and work with us for a 12-month period. And I'm going to share more information. This book here, it's called Your Invisible Power. And the reason I'm going to refer to that is because in the quote there with Bob, in the video with Bob there, he refers to Thomas Troward. And Thomas Troward, was one of the best writers of the past 500 years. And Bob studied him every single day. And me and Nikki study Thomas Troward every single day. And Genevieve Brand was a student of Thomas Troward, who then has taken his material and made it slightly more easier for us to understand. But the reason we're focusing today on what we do within our academy is because in order for us to move forward, you might be thinking, where do I start? I've got all this information, where do I start? And the whole title of that video that we love to play, I'll absolutely love this because it's a reminder for me every single day. The starting point for all achievement is desire. And you need to think about the desire that you currently have and what you need to get moving. So that's why we're here today. Good morning, Nikki. Out and about. No worries. That's okay. As long as you're listening in, you can watch back on replay. Like many other people have texted me this morning and say that they're going to be watching back on replay because it's Saturday morning, but we choose to go live now so you can get the rest of the day to yourselves and whatever social events or things you've got on Saturday evening. We don't want to interrupt that. And we'll be back on tomorrow morning as well, 9 a.m. Sunday. That's discipline because we like to practice and demonstrate discipline at the same time. So that's why we start the starting point, because he talks about order in there. Who here needs more order in their life? Who here needs structure, routine? Because from structure and routine, and more importantly, environment, that's what you get. So the order of visualization is chapter 1 in this book, Genevieve Brand that has written. And this week, no doubt, as we've been speaking and discussing and reflecting, you've been on so many thought trips this week, really thinking and considering about your life, and we will still encourage you to do that. But in order to get to where you want to go, and we briefly touched on it last night, you need a vision. And when you close your eyes, and I've went through a few exercises with you, and so did Nikki, about really seeing yourself as the person you want to become with the things you want in your life, you can visualize the details when we do that. And visualization is critical to really understand the vibration and frequency and level of thinking we need to get to attract these things into our life. So I'm going to just read you a couple of paragraphs from this book, chapter 1, why visualization and why today is about creating order. It says the exercise of visualization, the visualization faculty, keeps your mind in order and attracts to you the things you need to make life more enjoyable in an orderly way. If you train yourself in practice of deliberately practicing your desires and picturing your desires and carefully examining it, you will soon find your thought and desires come and proceed in more orderly procession than ever before. Having reached a state of ordered mentality, you are no longer in a state of mental hurry. Hurry is fear and consequently destructive. That last sentence blew my mind. It blew me away. I'm going to read that again. Who here on a daily basis feels that you're rushing about and you're hurrying up? Nikki often talks about her hurry up driver. And hurry, impatience, this is what this sentence is telling us. Having reached a state of ordered mentality, you are no longer in a constant state of mental hurry. So when you get order in your mind and you visualize your day, you visualize your week, you visualize your month, your life, you're no longer in a constant state of mental hurry. In this last sentence, this did it for me. Hurry is fear and consequently destructive. Wow. Hurry is fear and consequently destructive. Now, we talked about disintegration on Wednesday night, and if we're in a destructive state in terms of our thinking, worry, doubt, and fear, we talked about that last night as well. If we're in that state of anxiety, if we suppress it, depressed, disintegration, disease, all of that comes from that negative state of thought, all because we don't know any better. Ignorance is we don't know what we don't know. And what we do within our academy is we give you the knowledge and the tools and the structure and the order in order for you to take your life to wherever you want to take it. This is the beautiful thing about this. And then it goes on to say this. I'm going to finish this one page because it's just beautiful. In other words, when your understanding grasps the power to visualize your heart's desire and hold it with your will, it attracts to you all things requisite to the fulfillment of that picture by the harmonious vibrations of the law of attraction. You realize that since order is heaven's first law, and visualization places things in their natural element, then it must be a heavenly thing to visualize. How good is that? And I visualize every morning when I get up, just taking the dog for a walk this morning, no music, nothing in my ears, just walk in nature, and you just allow the visions to come. Remember, we talked about calmness the other night. And we also talked about the will, one of the mental faculties in our conscious mind. Remember, we talked about the 6 mental faculties in here, and imagination and will is 2 of the most important ones for me. Is that you imagine the life that you want and you hold it on the screen of your mind through visualization. But I also said here as well to visualize your heart's desire and hold it with your will. That means you concentrate on the good. Now, we had a few conversations yesterday in our calls we booked with me and Nikki, that when you feel good from being around this material, just for this week, could you imagine feeling like this for the rest of your life? But starting with the next 12 months. And that's what happens within our academy. And we give you that order. We give you that environment. We give you the tools. We give you the framework. That's the beautiful thing about what we do. So what I want you to quickly do now is I want you to understand one part of our academy as we take you through a 12-lesson transformational program, which is structured and designed to help you move from where you currently are to where you currently want to be. Thinking into Results is one of the programs that Bob Proctor and Sandy Gallagher put together, and we take you through that when you're part of our academy. And its core, it's not about learning more. It's about becoming someone different. And I want you all to pause right now and just say yes or no in the chat. Have you become somebody different this week? Just by 1%. We talked about 1% on Monday. Have you become somebody different this week? And be honest with yourself. It's just a yes or no. Because this program that we take you through works by teaching how the mind actually works. And we did that this week, introducing you to the stick person. We teach how the mind actually works. The conscious versus the subconscious. We identify and replace these limiting paradigms, this habitual thinking pattern that we know we have now. Some of these thinking patterns you have are not serving you and you need to change them. Like, you really need to change them. We know that. So through the process, we are aligning your thoughts, your feelings, your actions towards the results that you want in your life. And this is not just from a physical perspective, seeing the tangible results. It can really help from a mental perspective, an emotional perspective, but absolutely a spiritual perspective. And when we talk about being a spiritual perspective, this is all about you understanding that the universal laws are around us all the time. So we apply the universal laws to real life goals. And you might think that's a bit of woo, but we like a bit of woo. We love a bit of woo. And it's understanding that woo is energy. We close the gap between what you know and what you actually do. And it's the knowing, doing gap that is the one thing that's holding 97% of people in this world from really living the life they want. So it's a step-by-step system that turns all these ideas you've had this week into measurable results by shifting your identity. And that's not just behavior. It's how you see yourself in the program. And the one word that I love to use or phrase is that inside our academy, our program is a lifestyle. And it's a lifestyle that's designed to create a quantum leap, not incremental change. And what's a quantum leap? It's going from one state to another state in one large bound. And in physics, quantum leaps happen all the time. And quantum leaps can happen with you. So within our academy, our students, our clients, we really define clear, emotionally connected goals. And that's what we talked about on Monday, our C-type goal. We're reprogramming subconscious beliefs that conflict with that goal. Because once you understand your beliefs that are holding you back, you move forward. So we develop disciplined thinking and decision making. This is what this week's been about. It's been about discipline. Staying here right to the end is about discipline because you are investing time in yourself to take your life to another level. We move through the levels of awareness towards mastery to control your life. Now, there's a triangle that we touch on where there's 7 levels of awareness, from animalistic awareness, which is flight or fight, where basically you just react to things happening around you. But what we do is we bring that back to a centre where we move through from animalistic to mass to individuality, aspiration, experience, discipline, and mastery. And we must go through all of these stages to take control of your life. So when you're part of this, you apply what you learn in real time, because there's huge levels of accountability and repetition of this material over and over and over again. This is why I committed my life to this. This is a non-negotiable for me, that this is part of my life. This is not theory heavy. It's application heavy to really get you to understand what you want. And the outcomes that you get from this, because it's the so what question. We'll turn up, we'll do this, we'll think, oh my God, it's study, I've got to educate, I've got to go through to libraries. No. It really is the most powerful program in the world. And we're confident to say that because we've had people who work with some of the top influencers across the world, and nothing's like this material we've got. We have got the best material in the world. And this is where it becomes really powerful, because you have an identity shift once you're part of our academy. You move from reacting to life to creating life. You increase that level of self-image, that self-love, that self-respect, that self-belief, confidence, and move yourself forward. But we really have paradigm breakthroughs within this. We really start thinking about these limiting beliefs that are holding us back. We eliminate procrastination and self-sabotage. And just those 2 words alone resonate with me, because that was me. Who here is still procrastinating? Who's a master procrastinator, where you're stuck, you can't decide where you want to move forward? Who here is still having that huge level of self-sabotage in a number of different levels? So we replace these limiting beliefs with more empowering ones. We then talk about massive goal achievement. Our clear goals become actually tangible results. Me and Nikki were just speaking about, we were in Arizona last year. How many CTIP goals have we actually achieved? We start to lose count, because these are often described as quantum leaps in performance and income. You go, my word. If I can tell myself 10 years ago what I'd be doing right now, I would be going, really? I remember what I was doing 10 years ago, and it was the start of something beautiful. What we also then do is create behavioural consistency, because you start something and your habit's like, yay, I'm on fire, and you go back to default position again. We close that known doing gap. We act with purpose instead of emotion. We know exactly the habits we need to do each day. And what we develop through the program, because it is also a self-leadership program that makes you so much more productive than you'll ever be in your life. You become a highly effective, focused, and decisive person. And we've already touched on this week that we need to be better at making decisions. We lead ourselves, we lead our business, and we lead others at a really, really high level. And it starts with us. Self-leadership is the first step. And actually, to be an effective leader, you need to be a really effective follower. And you've shown this week that you can all be intelligent followers by doing what we ask you to do. And then as a result of all of this, it results in long-term transformation. Who here wants a better life? Who here wants to say, no, I'm sick and tired of doing this all the time? Long-term transformation means it's not just short-term success. For some it is, who thinks, I'll do this for a short time and then I'll go back and think that's me fixed. This is a lifestyle. This is not a program. This is not a short-term fix. This is not a quick win. We give you tools for a life. Repeatable success again and again and again in every single part of your life. That's what we provide, because our program ultimately teaches you this, that you do not get what you want in life. You get what you are programmed to believe you're worthy of. And that's the critical thing here. So the real work is expanding your awareness. Bob often talks about that awareness like going off in this big funnel into the ether. There's no end to where it goes. We rewire your identity, and that's something that I am so proud to say that I specialise in, because I've been shifting my identity for the past 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, 9 years, 10 years, because it's aligning with my belief, with my desire. The desire I've got to have a life for me, my family, and for my future generational people to come. And mixing with my belief that this is happening. It is absolutely incredible. So this is exactly why this program and this academy works. And this is why most people never get results. Because we develop faith in yourself. This week, I've been hearing you saying, I need more confidence. I need to develop more faith in me and that things are going to be just fine. And it's the faith that really, really is what we're talking about here. The assumption, the expectations, and the belief I deserve and I'm worthy of everything that I want in my life. There's a wonderful quote that Bob Proctor used to read all the time about faith. And I used to write this down every day. And if you want to, write this down every day for 30 days. And it's faith is the ability to see the invisible, believe in the incredible, and that is what enables believers to receive what the masses think is impossible. Faith is the ability to see the invisible, to believe in the incredible, and that is what the believers to receive what the masses think is impossible. Because our academy trains our brilliant minds to see results before they exist, to believe before the evidence appears, acts in alignment with that belief. And this happens when the invisible becomes visible. This happens when the impossible becomes inevitable. This is what we specialise in. Our Brilliant Minds Academy is a structured system that rewires you how to think, so you become the person capable of achieving the results you once thought were impossible. Now, I've only described 1/3 of what we do. The other 2/3 in which we do is very much about embodying all the emotional intelligence that we require to really maintain that level of frequency to attract these things into our life. And that's where Nikki really specialises in what we call neuro-linguistic programming, where neurologically we really start to change the patterns of your thinking to really understand your emotional connection to every single system in your body, how it links to your nervous system, how it links to your cells, how it links to your longevity of life. And we look at so many bits of other literature, because one of my main goals is to live on this planet for as long as I can. So what we've added into this is how do you take control, not just from an intellectual perspective, which a lot of we talk about is mindset, but emotional intelligence. And Nikki is one of the world's best for really taking you on a journey of embodying every single principle we talk about. It helps you really understand what's going on in the body and how you really change these patterns so your nervous system can really start to believe at a cellular level that everything that's going to happen in your life is already here. And it links from a physical perspective, a physiological perspective, a neurological perspective, a emotional perspective, a spiritual perspective, an energy perspective. All these things come back together. So we really give you the tools to really start to calm this body down, to slow down, to speed up. And it's the best material we have got all in one place. And then when we really start to think about goals, we really start to think about, well, how do I develop the competency and intelligence around finance? Because money, as we talked about last night, is something that we don't know. We're not taught this in school. So we really start to embody and think about financial intelligence. How do you really build wealth? And Fridays in our academy, that's what we focus on. We touch on literature, similar to Think and Grow Rich. And by the way, there's not another book in human history as this book that has made as many millionaires through really embedding these principles, 13 principles to become successful in any part of life. Now, I'm using money as an example, but you could be a millionaire in any other part of your life. We touch on other books about how do you build assets, how do you really believe that you're a person that can build up significant levels of wealth. So really taking the tangible from this, and it's all from what Bob had created for us, and we add other people's theory and methodologies to that as well. This system helps you rewire how you think, so you can become the person capable of achieving the results you once thought were absolutely impossible. That's what we do. So to finish with this, I want you to watch this video clip of Bob again at the starting point, and I want you to really hear everything we've talked about today. Thomas Troward, that order we need, the calmness at which we need, you taking 100% responsibility for every result in your life. This is what we do within our academy, but you've got to do it. Nobody else can do this for you. Yes, we create the support, the environment, the community, the accountability, because we've got your back. So I'm going to finish with Bob again. Today and tomorrow are shorter lessons than we'll have in the previous weeks, just 30 minutes. And we'll be back tomorrow morning to discuss self-image, really the cornerstone of what every result has came from in your life. So we'll be back by 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Have the most wonders of Saturdays. Take the time to rest, because I certainly am, because it's been a busy, busy week. And we'll have one more session tomorrow. So please comment if you've been watching on replay. Still time to book a call. We'll put those calendar links into the chat, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. Okay, have a wonderful Saturday.
Thomas Troward talked about the starting point. I love that man's work. I truly love it. Now, the starting point is such a magnificent concept. It's something that you can read over and over and over again. He says it's an old saying that order is heaven's first law. And like many other old sayings, it contains a much deeper philosophy than appears immediately on the surface. Order is heaven's first law. Calm. Everything positive you can think of. You could speak in superlatives all day long, and you'd still fall short. You're talking about something beyond the scope of our vocabulary. All of our words in our vocabulary are third-dimensional words. And when you get into talking about God, Spirit, Infinite, you don't have a word in your vocabulary to describe that. You've gone beyond the third dimension. So we're talking about something that's so good, you can't even describe it. That's a heavenly state. Now he says, getting things into a better order is the great secret of progress. It's the great secret of progress. If you want to make progress, make order essential in your life. Got to have order. We're now able to fly through the air, not because the laws of nature have been altered, but because we have learned to arrange things in the right order to produce this result. If all things are possible, we've always been able to fly. It was because we learned to arrange things in the right order to produce that result. Well, if you want to get a result you haven't got, if you want a result beyond where you're at, you got to get things into a better order. Things themselves had existed from the beginning of the world. What was wanting was the introduction of the personal factor. You'll hear people say, God will do it. God will not do it. You got to do it. God works to and through you, but you've got to do it. It doesn't matter what's happened in the past. You and I are creative beings. We can go with our mind and we can take ourselves there and we say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to bring this into form. I can see it. I can see it. If I can hold it in my head, I can hold it in my hand. Get serious, for goodness sake. You're the most powerful creature on the planet.